Hello, welcome to a Volo's Monster episode of How to Play D&D, the explainer podcast where one experienced dungeon master and one failed scriptwriter discuss D&D topics. My name is Kinsey, and I'm proud to say my guest for the entirety of this series is none other than Abby from Tabletop Curiosities. Hello, Abby.
Hello.
Hello, thank you for joining me on this Saturday morning. This is episode 3 recording, which if people do watch it on Spotify and YouTube, they'll see that we are wearing the same clothes consistently every week they watch. Right, so what is the creature this week that you have selected?
It's a good one this week. We are doing the Flail Snail.
Let's get to it. Okay, so today's episode is on Flail Snails. Imagine a snail that hates your very being, but it's weaponized. Abby, I've got a car boot full of puppies. Is this an imperial measurement? What am I doing?
Oh, bring them round. Just bring them to my house. Car boot of puppies. Get them out of there. Let's
Ignore the
treats.
measurement. Ignore the measurement. Oh yeah, there was nothing. I guess car boot full of puppies sounds really sinister, actually. I was just like, look, this is how I'm holding this many at once to measure stuff. I didn't think about like the sinister side of what that could mean. Right. Why did you pick Flail Snails?
I think I say this all the time, but this one really is super weird.
Okay,
super weird
all right.
one. We are talking crazy, colourful, prismatic, shelled snail.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, who calls a creature a flail snail? Even that in itself is just it's just too good not to read more about, basically.
Yeah, 100%. I tell you what, before we get into it, I had seen the Flail Snail not through D&D, but through miniatures. I kept getting advertised as way before I played D&D, and I've never collected miniatures or anything before either. But I was getting ads where it's like, you're a nerd, let's target you, and it would be like a 38 centimeter Flail Snail. And I was like, I have no idea what this is. They're just trying to sell me like a giant weaponized snail. And then years later, played D&D, and I was like, it's a Flail Snail. That's what it was this whole time.
I wonder if there's like lore about them in other things, in other fandoms.
Know. I mean, it was literally just like 3D printer advertisement. Do you know what I mean? So they're just kind of showing off what they've got. It might be like houses, like kind of franchises of like anime and stuff. But that was one of the things. It was like massive. So I was like, the chances of that being what I get into later is like, it's quite slim.
Little do you know, that's what you're getting for your birthday.
Yeah, oh yeah, thanks, yeah. a pay dad, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so you said why you picked them. What kind of stats does a Flail Snail have?
So it's an elemental.
Okay.
Which sort of says a lot about like the makeup of it. It's kind of one of those like crazy elements of chaos that has just sort of existed in this crazy world. We're talking challenge rating 3. It's not necessarily a difficult combat encounter. I'd say it's definitely just more of an interesting thing to encounter rather than a challenging fight. Mainly because of its shell. It's got anti-magic properties. So it has advantage on all saving throws against spells and things like that. And any spells against it, you can still cast them, but they're going to be at disadvantage.
Right.
And a chaos element's going to kick in. So if you do hit with a spell, you're going to have to roll a d6. And then there's effects, basically.
Right,
we won't spoil them too much for the fun at the table.
Yeah.
But weird stuff could start happening that you're probably not going to want as a party to be going on. It also has 5 flails, which are its tentacles. So it's got like tentacles coming out of it that can make attacks themselves as flails. And there's mechanics of if you start chipping them down and start taking off a tentacle, other things start to happen as well. So it's got that kind of puzzle element that the DM can kind of play around with. And then finally, its shell has a like light element as well as anti-magic. So it's constantly dazzling in this light, and the snail flower can like make that a bigger effect 30 feet of bright light, an additional 30 feet of dim light, and it's going to give disadvantage as well as potentially stun people that are looking
Okay.
at it as well. Um, it's a defensive snail. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
way they've done the stats, it's very much leaning in still to it is a snail, which I love.
It feels like it feels like the kind of thing where if you don't know what it is, you'll come across it. It's a bit like the same from like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, where it's something similar to what you know in real life, but it's got this kind of like horror element to it. But because it's like prismatic, it misleads you going, I bet there's treasure in that. And then everything it
Yeah.
does is to stop itself being treasure, right? And if you kill it, there's no treasure. So it's kind of like a bit and after that it feels like it'd just be an annoyance. Like say you go, no, ignore them, just walk past them. Don't worry about them.
Yeah.
They'll fuck us up. Do you know what I mean? It's not
Although interesting you should say that it might lure you in to think that it has like treasure around and stuff.
mm,
The Volo goes on in the book about how valuable the snail is. So
okay.
if you were able to get hold of the shell,
Yeah.
you can actually craft some like pretty significant legendary items from the
Wow, okay.
from the DM manual. There's significant things that can be done with that shell. So you might even be like hunting the shell itself, and then
Right.
probably have like a bit of a moral upset of that we probably shouldn't be killing this thing. It's
Yeah.
not a monster. It's unlikely to attack you unless you attack it. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so
I
yeah,
like. I really. I
who's the
didn't know
monster?
that. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
know that, and I've that gives me a completely different way of doing it. So we'll get into that. How does the DM use it in their session? I feel like I've got an idea of how you might go about this.
So for me, it would probably just be, woo, shiny snail. Look at this crazy light coming out of this cave. Let me lure you in and have a really silly combat.
Yeah,
Um, and that's probably just for me because I'm a bit of a softie and probably wouldn't send my party to hunt a,
yeah.
a
I thought the
cutie little
opposite.
creature.
I literally thought you would say the opposite. Like, yeah, it might be a quest where they've got to get ingredients, they got to hunt this, and they're going for, and
That's
then they
the
get there
most
and it's like
likely.
it's a snail, and then they're like easy, and then they just get eviscerated by it.
Yeah, possibly. It depended what devil was in which shoulder at the time, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that is a good way of doing it though. Not a
Right.
way I have done, but I do think that makes the most sense that you would be asked. So Volo even breaks it down. The shell is worth 5,000 gold pieces
Wow. Okay, so
just
that is a
on
lot.
its own.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
lot for even a mid party. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can craft a spellguard shield or a robe of scintillating colors from it,
Right.
which are both like look them up in the manuals and stuff. Very good items,
Yeah.
worth a lot of money as well.
Yeah.
So it could be that a wizard has sent you in. He wants it. Um, anybody really, and anybody could want their hands on this, and then the party also has that moment of, well, do we sell it to that guy, or do we now figure out what we could do with it?
Yeah. So let's go on about that quickly, just so people don't just start looking for flail snails in their games to like break everyone's systems. How does thanks for that, Abby. Yeah. How does the stats of the flail snail do they make sense as to like what the riches you can gain? Like, is this thing difficult to fight, or is it just a puzzle?
I'd say it is difficult. Like
Yeah.
if you were just talking armor class and hit points, it's nothing crazy. It's nothing special.
Right.
It's also really slow as well. But those random effects, the fact it's got its little shell that it can hide in and stun you, I
Yeah.
do think it would actually be pretty tricky.
If it feels like it would work really well if you think there's one, but there's more than one, and then a bit like the
Yeah,
cranium rats episode we did, where it's like you think there's going to be one, then they work better in a kind of swarm, um, and that's way harder, right? Because all of the effects they have around them, they're kind of like AOE effects in the area. So trying to get close when all of that is happening is way harder when everything's swinging at you, but also stopping you from
exactly.
casting spells, right?
Yeah, and like potentially we're talking that they would have other creatures out in caves and things with them.
Yeah,
If I know if I was like a little cave bat or something, if this flail snail kept stunning people, I'd probably go and eat those people while they're stunned. So
yeah.
like Is
Yeah.
there other people in this cave that are making it really, really difficult? Because yeah,
Yes.
stunning especially is the worst. Getting stunned in combat is so shit.
Do you know what? I think that's a good way of explaining that people don't really think about in games. Is like, in real life, like, like animals will eat things, and then you have carrion that will come along and eat what's left, and there's a whole kind of ecosystem of how it works, right? With prey and
Yeah,
predator. There's no that's exactly how it should be in your D&D games, arguably, of like if these are just creatures, not kind of like humanoid beings or something of intelligence that's going out its way to have kind of like meticulous plans, it makes complete sense that something would stick around near snail like flail snails, knowing that it can benefit from it. So
yeah.
that's a great example. People should definitely look into that. That's definitely made me think about how I would use creatures like this.
And yeah, it definitely makes it more difficult. As we say, it is still a snail at the end of the day. You could crush it in a few rounds if you got
Yeah,
lucky. But having those sort of extra dynamics of the other things pop up, it can make it really a panic moment where you thought
yeah,
you were
yeah,
just going in for some valuables.
yeah. Totally, that's totally fair. How have you used this in a game, or did you come across it as a player?
So I haven't ever come across one,
Okay,
and
okay,
I would love to,
yeah, yeah.
to be honest. I think I'd be that really annoying player that would probably try and keep it as a pet.
Right, yeah, the DM's literally just doing everything in his power to try to like remove it from your game, and you're like, yeah, rolling high enough to keep it.
Yeah, not Snaily. He's
Yeah,
mine now.
it would have to be Gary, wouldn't it? It'd have to be Gary from SpongeBob. You'd have
Oh,
to.
it would. It
Love
would.
it.
I was about to say it would have to be Gary Glitter, wouldn't it? But
Oh yeah,
let's
no,
not go
yeah,
there.
you can't use that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cut
for
that. Cut that.
wordplay, yeah, yeah, cut that, cut that. All right, so to see us out, what does Volo say about the flail snail?
Similar to its smaller garden cousins, Flail Snails are vulnerable to salt.
Oh, okay, that was
Doesn't
it.
say that in the stat block either, so he's a liar.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Or is it not people thinking people would just maybe there's a whole new component of D&D they haven't thought about, Wizards of the Coast, where it's like I could hit this thing, or for an action I could throw a bag of salt at it. So no one's put that in the block.
That's up to you, DMs, whether
Yeah,
you want that to fly or not.
that's out of the box thinking. That's what I'm after in my games.
Yeah.
So that's all he says about it.
Yep, that's it.
Amazing. Of all the properties it has, I love it. I love it so much. Okay then. Today's venture has sadly come to a close. We're back in next week with the topic: do doctors make up illnesses to keep their jobs? And as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you like joining the D&D action, I do actually like doctors, then please follow us on Instagram at How to Play D&D, or check out the link in our bio to join the Discord server. And also check out Black Mark Club on Instagram for cool D&D clothing. Abby, what is your name? Where can we find you?
I'm a dice maker. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Etsy at tabletop.curiosities.
Amazing. I've been Connor Kinsey.
I've been Abby.
Good day.